6 to provide really massive scale for systems administration. And I kind of thought, living here in the future.
That sounds fascinating. So one of the things I really appreciate about being up here with you is that I get an opportunity to develop a partnership, right? And that's based on trust, collaboration, and open communication.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing, Shermy. You know, I'd say that it really goes to show the value of having a successful partnership, a solid partnership. And I know that at Red Hat, we really value the partners and the many, many things that they bring to the table to serve our customers. From our partner program, Red Hat Connect, through Red Hat certified products and services, our partner relationships are based on a strong technical and business foundation. A little later today, you're going to hear from 3 of those partners.
But first, let's take a look at our next pair of Innovation Award winners, Atos and Acuity, who prove that open source innovation spans from community to enterprise and from private sector to public sector.
Innovation is more than just change. It's the addition of something new. New ideas, new methods, new products and technologies that take something to a new level. The GSA was attempting to provide better transparency to information that resides both inside their agency and other agencies that they pull information and data from. The GSA D2D project is innovative because it was the first time that I've seen an agency break down silos, providing high-powered data analytics to anyone. We used JBoss Fuse to provide the connectivity to the different data sources. We used the data virtualization product to provide a unified view of this data. We use JBoss BPM in order to orchestrate the different data management processes. We won the Red Hat Innovation Award in the category of Accelerate, Integrate, Automate. And it's very satisfying to have been a part of such a significant project that's going to make a difference and is making a difference to the agency, other agencies in the federal government that they serve, and the US taxpayer.
Innovation is important to us. It's important in the products and services that we provide, but it's also in the way that we engage with our customers and we deliver projects and services to them. So here in Atos, we've come up with some very innovative ways to work closely with the customer to solve their business challenges quicker than they've been able to solve them in the past, which enables them to be more responsive to problems, challenges, or market changes. Data sharing has always been a challenge within government due to the fact that as citizens, we all want government to treat our data sensitively and securely. With Canopy Digital Connect, we've kind of solved that problem for all government departments. There's a common, consistent, secure platform to provide the data sharing element of it. So we picked Red Hat and we worked with them. The solution is essentially based on Red Hat Fuse, but we were doing something with the product that maybe no one had really thought about doing or hadn't been done before. So we won the Red Hat Innovation Award in the Applications Development category. I think it's a great achievement. I think it's good recognition for the team that we've had working on this, both from Red Hat and from Atos. I think it's going to give us the ability to showcase exactly what Atos is capable of and showcase the product that we've produced.
Great. As a reminder, you can vote for the Innovation Award winner right from your Summit app. Next, we'd like to introduce some amazing partner keynotes that we have lined up for you this afternoon.
For over 20 years now, Red Hat and Intel have been innovating in the data center. Together, both companies are deeply committed to the open source community and are 2 of the top contributors to upstream projects, including the Linux kernel. Intel and Red Hat are working to bring the cloud to enterprises, both large and small, through the Intel Cloud for All initiative. And when it comes to the power of participation, together we are enabling choice for the industry.
And next, you'll hear from Dell. There are really very few partnerships that span the depth, strength, and longevity that Red Hat and Dell enjoy. Together, Red Hat and Dell have made technology more open and more accessible for all. Organizations around the world choose Dell to help them transform the way they do business so that they can transform the lives of their community and the people they serve.
And then finally, we're going to hear from SAP. Since joining forces more than 15 years ago, Red Hat and SAP have really come to champion innovation in the enterprise data center, combining open source leadership with SAP's global strength in business software.
But first, we've been up here for a little while now, and perhaps one of us should mention the robotic elephant, don't you think?
Yeah, we don't have a third MC. So it's up here for a really cool reason. This year, we're excited, as part of our open source story series, to have a presentation from the co-founder of Wevolver, an online platform to document open source hardware projects. And one of the projects that they've documented is the InMove Robots for Good. This project allows hospitalized children to experience the outside world using life-sized 3D printed, open source developed robots that they can control from their room. It's a really incredible project, and it really brings a lot of good, again, outside of just what we're all kind of focused on, the enterprise technology, but to actually improving the lives of kids around the world.
Yeah, this is really exciting. So we will turn it over to our partners and the robot, and we'll see you back here in a bit. Thank you.
Y'all have a great day.
Please welcome the co-founder of Wevolver and member of InMove Robots for Good, Richard Hulskes.
As a 10-year-old kid growing up in a small town, this is what I would dream about every single night. There were two things I loved: building robots and building rockets. And I had set up my own little hackerspace in the attic of our house, and my dad, he would drive me to the local electronics store every single weekend to get me a handed-down CD player or a tape recorder, which I could then skillfully deconstruct. And I would spend hours in that attic, soldering and tinkering. And I'm going to be honest, most of the things I made there, they were not that good. But it didn't matter. I loved deconstructing an old television set and then make something new from that. And my robots, they didn't do much more than, spin around, and they had some blinking lights. And my rockets, they would burn down every single time. But as a kid back then, building those buggy robots and these awfully constructed rockets was basically the best I could do. I had no documentation on how to build these things. I didn't have people around me I could ask questions to or collaborate with. But today, people are building really advanced technologies, people of all ages. And this is happening because the way hardware is getting developed is radically changing. Who is building hardware is changing, and what they're building is changing. And that is happening because the open source software mindset is shifting to hardware. And people have access to digital manufacturing and electronics. And because of this, people are learning new engineering skills. They're solving problems, and they're even starting their own businesses. And that's why I co-founded Wevolver.com. Wevolver is a collaboration platform for hardware development on both public and private projects. On Wevolver, people share the knowledge and files of engineering projects, and others then use those resources to make, improve, and collaborate on those projects. And our users are building drones that explore the deep oceans, low-cost prosthetics, and are even sending satellites out into space. And in this process, they're changing science, education, and economics. And today I'm here to talk about one of my favorite projects on the platform and how it has the potential to change the lives of thousands of children. About a year ago, I met up with a friend of mine who was doing voluntary work at a local children's hospital in London. And he was telling me about the kids who are hospitalized for a longer period of time. And we discussed if there was maybe something we could do for them so we could make their lives at least a bit more fun whilst they were there. And so we talked if there was maybe something we could build that could enable them to explore the outside world from the hospital. And that's when I mentioned a robotics project that had just been documented on Wevolver called InMove. The InMove is a humanoid robot that you can build with a home 3D printer. And it's designed and manufactured by this modern-day Geppetto called Gaël Langevin. And Gaël is a model maker who lives in Paris. And one day, Gaël got a job to make a robotic hand for a TV commercial. So Gaël made and designed this robotic hand, but what he did after that was really remarkable. He decided to share all the knowledge and files of that hand online. And soon people all over the world started to make this robotic hand, and that got Gaël super excited, and he decided to develop and build the rest of the robot. And now there's a community of hundreds of people around the world, not just making this robot, but also improving it. People are giving it features like voice recognition and gesture control. And so me and my friend, we started to discuss how we could use Gaël's robot for the plans we had with the Children's Hospital, since everything was openly available. And what I had also just learned is that one community member, Kevin Waters, who also built this InMove, had connected it to virtual reality, which enables people to look through the robot's eyes and see what the robot sees. And that's how the InMove Robots for Good project was born. The InMove will enable kids in hospital to explore the outside world by using the robot as their personal avatar. They will be able to go where the robot goes and see what the robot sees. And they'll be able to talk to other people and even shake their hands. So we started with the build of the robot, which was fairly easy and low cost. We could 3D print all the parts, and if something broke or didn't fit, we could just reprint it again. We could use off-the-shelf electronics that we bought online, and we tested the virtual reality connection with an easy and simple Google Cardboard. And soon the project got a lot of media attention. Blogs and mainstream media, they all started to write about it, and even Prince Andrew, when he was visiting our office in London, wanted to meet up with the InMove and shake his hand. And by now the project was really getting off the ground. But it wasn't always easy. We had a very small team of volunteers, and people had little time. And because the project took much longer than we expected, people got really demotivated. And I remember at one point we only had half a working robot, and we were really doubting if it was ever going to happen. But because of the openness of the project, it kept going. New volunteers kept showing up. And it was super interesting to see the development of the team, from local makers to professional 3D printing companies. Everyone wanted to help out. And that's when I got a phone call from the Sacramento Kings here in California. And they told me this project would be the perfect follow-up to a previous project they had done, where they were enabling kids in hospital to visit their games in virtual reality. And this got our team super excited again. And the Kings promised us they would help us find local makers and builders to help build this robot. And within no time, everything was settled and fixed. And last month, we launched the InMove Robots for Good project right here in California. 2 local high schools are building the InMove robot as we speak. And when it's finished, it's going to drive through the new Kings Stadium, controlled by kids from the local children's hospital. And not only that, it will also enable the kids from London to visit the Sacramento Kings games. And what's super cool is that if it's successful, we can roll it out across stadiums all over the country. And I see projects like this happen every day. Since the launch of Revolver 18 months ago, more than 500 public projects have been documented. People are building electric skateboards, their own 3D printers, and are even building their own open source cars right in their own garage. The way hardware is getting developed is radically changing. And projects like InMove are just the beginning. And it blows my mind to think about all these millions of people around the world building their own technology. And it excites me that this 10-year-old kid can now build his own drone, exoskeleton, or even his own mini satellite. And he'll be able to find like-minded people to work with, collaborate with, and in time, maybe even start a company with. The sky is literally no more a limit. Thank you.
We are instinctually curious, ambitious, with lofty goals, and an innate need for community, and occasionally, with aspirations that extend far beyond our planet. We live in a world where our accomplishments are measured not by medals or ribbons, but by the altitude of our ambition. Ambition to contribute and collectively affect positive change. It's here, as part of the global open source community, that innovation flows most freely. Innovation that has been gathering momentum in the cloud. Cloud environments developed on OpenStack and optimized for Intel architecture. The OpenStack community has enjoyed meteoric growth. In only a few short years, OpenStack has become the launchpad for open cloud creation. And through Intel's heritage of open innovation, we're helping create massive developer clouds, scalable clouds, resilient clouds, simpler clouds, networking clouds, accelerated clouds, for everyone. It's in this open environment that Intel is helping unleash tens of thousands of new clouds, and a diverse range of global customers are reaping the benefits. Intel inside, infinite possibility outside.
Please welcome Intel's Senior Vice President and General Manager, Software and Services Group, Doug Fisher.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. The power of participation. What does participation mean to you? Think about what that means. You know, to me, participation means collaboration. It means a community. It means an ecosystem. Participation is taking action to build collaboration, a community, and an ecosystem. But to do that, you have to have a common belief, a common direction, where you're headed. At Intel, we believe in the virtuous cycle of growth. That's where we're headed, to drive the virtuous cycle of growth. Now, it's a cycle, so there's no real beginning or end. But let's look at the devices. Billions of devices out there. What are they doing? They're generating data, lots of data. That's going to the data center to be mined for value. That then is turned into products and services that generates what? The demand for more devices, in turn generates more data. And that's the virtuous cycle of growth. Now today, that is driven by people. Tomorrow, that will be driven by things. And let me tell you what that looks like. Today, people generate, on average, about 650 megabytes of data per day. It's a large number. Cisco projects that by 2020, it'll be around 1.5 gigabytes of data per day. So people are generating a lot of data that can be mined for value. But they also predict by 2020, those 50 billion connected devices, 47% of those will be things generating data. Why is that relevant? Well, those things consist of things like connected hospitals, generating 3,000 gigabytes of data. Connected cars or autonomous driving cars, 4,000 gigabytes of data. Connected airplane, 40,000 gigabytes of data. And a connected factory, over 1 million gigabytes of data, outstripping the power of people generating the growth to things. That's driving momentum. But what else is going to drive that momentum? It's going to be software. All those devices need the power of software and the power of open source software. A great number of those devices run open source software. And that's why at Intel we invest so much in open source software, whether it's working on the Linux kernel or delivering things like Yocto, which is a tool that allows developers to build a robust embedded operating environment for embedded solutions. Over 50% of those solutions use Yocto today. Or whether you need a real-time microkernel, real-time OS with Zephyr. And it's 50 billion connected devices. So connecting these devices in a standard, robust, manageable, secure way is critical. And that's why we started the Open Connectivity Framework Foundation. That is so critical to have an open way, an open standard for these devices to interoperate in a standards-based way. IoTivity is the project that's driving the first implementation, reference implementation of OCF. Now, when that data is generated, it needs to be mined for value. And therefore, you need to have a robust data center, modernized, taking advantage of a software-defined infrastructure. And guess what's one of the cornerstones of that software-defined infrastructure? It's OpenStack. And that's why it's so critical that we evolve and move forward the OpenStack capability for the data center of the future. And there's many more projects that we're working on to ensure that that data center is robust for these new workloads. What do all these things have in common? Yes, they're software projects, but most importantly, they're open source software projects. And open source is delivering the same value today as it did in the beginning. It's given our customers choice. That's what they want. They want that choice. It's allowing them to scale. With the participation of the open source community, they can now scale. They can drive those capabilities at a much more rapid pace with the participation of the community. And if you look at the recent survey from Oxford economists, they say that 41% of executives today see open source as a critical capability to drive their new products and services to their customers. So it's about choice, it's about scalability, and it's about innovation. We're seeing that today in many industry segments. Here's just 4 examples of what we're seeing, bringing real value to real customers, taking advantage of open source capabilities. In the entertainment area, we have Digital Film Tree. They're a post-production house. It takes thousands of hours of video to consolidate that into a 1-hour television show. They're using the power of OpenStack and open source to generate that value and drive it down to mobile devices for faster interaction. One of the leading automotive manufacturers is using open source and OpenStack to get insights to their customers, to improve the services and products they deliver. In the banking industry, PayPal has been very vocal about using open source as a way to generate development capabilities for their platforms to meet the ever-demanding capabilities their customers require. And finally, the transportation industry is modernizing. Bud Van Lines is a very, very large moving company, moving thousands of families a day, but they're also moving mass amounts of data. And so they're using things like OpenStack and OpenSwift to manage that storage capability that's so critical to deliver that value to their customers. Now at Intel, we don't think this is enough. We want to continue to drive these capabilities and drive that momentum and that virtuous cycle of growth. And this is why we launched Intel Cloud for All. Now you saw that video, it has some statistics. One of the statistics was the number of developers participating. It said 27,000. That video was produced several months ago. It's already out of date because of the momentum of participation. There's already 25% growth to 34,000 plus participants today. Again, the power of participation momentum being driven. This is to say that we launched an initiative, but we can't do this on our own. We need everybody in this room to help participate. We're investing upstream to deliver more capabilities. We're working for optimized workloads to make sure it meets the needs of your enterprise environment. And then we're aligning the industry to ensure that solutions are actually deployable in a mature way in your environment. So what are we doing in investing? So last year, with Rackspace, Intel launched OSIC, OpenStack Innovation Platform. Is that up here? Get forward here. And with Rackspace at Intel, what was our goal? Our goal was to train developers, grow the development community, get more participants. And we're doing that today, training hundreds of engineers. We formed the largest joint development team, putting people, co-locating people, looking at OpenStack, finding the gaps, and driving upstream capabilities to drive robustness and ease of deployment of OpenStack. And then finally, we built the largest cluster of servers to test and validate solutions that everybody can participate with. The first company to jump in and participate was Red Hat. They're building robust, scalable solutions, and they're using that infrastructure to test their solutions before they go to market. And you can do the same. So go to osic.org and learn how to participate and help accelerate the innovation in OpenStack. We also need to look inside OpenStack. We describe this as keeping an open mind. Taking a look at what's done today, is it the right way of doing it? Can we do something different? So we took that philosophy internal to my group. We put a very small team of people on a project and said, if you had a clean slate and you could look at the scheduling orchestration capabilities of OpenStack, what would you do, knowing what you know today? We'd like it to be secure, deployable, lightweight, high performant. What happened after 5 months? We call this the Chow solution. You can see it today on GitHub. It's called Cloud Integrated Advanced Orchestration. It's a mouthful. But what they did is exactly what we asked them to do with a clean slate of paper. It now schedules VMs, containers, bare metal workloads, the same workloads equally in an environment with 10 to 100x performance in the scheduling. That's the power of having an open mind and a participation. We also challenged the groups between Red Hat and Intel to look at some of the things that we're struggling with in OpenStack. One of them is managing the deployment of scale of OpenStack. And so we looked outside of OpenStack to see how other things we could utilize. Not reinventing the wheel, but leveraging what is already out there in the industry. We're now looking at things like Kubernetes to see if we can move the management plane to a containerized view to ease the deployment of scale of OpenStack and driving that up into the Cola open source project. So having an open mind, looking at the industry and seeing if we can leverage what's already there to make OpenStack a better platform. Again, participating to make it better. We're doing that together. Upstream development is important, but so is optimizing workloads that you can take advantage of in your environment. We want to ensure that we build environments and solutions that take advantage of the latest architecture and the latest platform capabilities. Intel launched our Builder programs, focused on 4 areas. Intel Cloud Builder program is focused on defining and driving the future software-defined infrastructure, utilizing things like the Intel rack scale architecture, designed to enable better manageability of that infrastructure. Things like the storage builders. You saw how much data is going to be generated by those 50 billion connected devices. Memory and storage is going to be absolutely foundational to delivering on these workloads. And so learning the advanced and the latest technologies like SSDs, non-volatile memory, other technologies that are growing in that space, and how to modernize your storage environment is critical. Just like it is in the network side, taking advantage of the tools and capabilities and the new techniques that we have, using DBDK and other techniques to accelerate your network. And then finally, for the high performance computing environment, to ensure that you're taking advantage of the latest fabric technologies to accelerate your computing capabilities for high performance computing. But what does this need? What is missing here? We just can't launch programs. We have to have participation. And look at what we have already. We have over 340 partner companies participating. They've already generated 259 technical publications that you can take advantage of. Over 1,700 developers have been trained already participating, delivering value that all of you can take advantage of. Again, the power of participation is real. And finally, we're looking at aligning. Now, I stood on stage last year at the Red Hat Summit in Boston, and I talked about aligning and the importance of alignment. And there was, in my keynote, there was 2 critical things that I wanted you to remember. The first one, if you remember, there's a 5K race. And if you guys remember, I destroyed Paul Cormier in that race. If you looked at the picture, you could see me at the finish line, and you could barely see Paul because of the curvature of the earth. He was so far behind me. Yeah, let's go right up. Yeah, that's it. And I'm going to do it again this year. Sorry, Paul. All right. What I did talk about was our extensions to the on-ramp. Working together with Red Hat, driving upstream capabilities in 4 vectors: ease of deployment, tenants and services, and rollouts. All these capabilities driving into the upstream projects to ensure that we made a much more robust and OpenStack deployment. But we also needed partners to bring these capabilities to market, enterprise partners. So we talked about what Cisco and Dell and their commitment to delivering validated designs, design guides, blueprints, technical papers, all the things you needed to have a solution stack that you could be confident in deploying in your market. And that's what they've stepped up to do and launched their validated designs. Cisco has their validated design they launched in February, and Dell has their Dell Cloud Builder program, all designed to drive momentum with robust solutions. What's that give you as an enterprise user? It gives you the combined expertise of Intel, Dell, Red Hat, Cisco, and others in the ecosystem, all that expertise combined to deliver the best-in-class solutions. It gives you the simplification of adopting this in your environment. And it'll give you the confidence that there is going to be a mature solution that you can count on for enterprise workloads. That is absolutely critical to drive that momentum. But we also need developers. We need developers to build solutions that you can take advantage of. Developers come in all shapes and sizes. We want to accelerate the development of what we call born-in-cloud applications. We want to ensure that developers have the opportunity to develop applications that take advantage of the scale of the cloud. Cloud Native Computing Foundation worked with us to sponsor a 1,000-node Xeon cluster for developers to take advantage of. So when they build their born-on-cloud applications, they have a place to test their solution. That is an idea that we put together to help drive participation from the software community to deliver valuable services in your environment. So Cloud for All is about investing upstream to make the most robust, easy to deploy, scalable solution. It's about ensuring that we work together to build optimized solutions around workloads that are critical for your environment. And it's about aligning the ecosystem, the enterprise players to deliver those solutions, and then getting momentum around a developer ecosystem that can build better and better solutions for your environment. We've committed for over 2 centuries, sorry, 2 decades. I feel old. Paul and I have committed to working together to drive upstream capabilities for Red Hat and Intel, to drive that capability upstream to deliver better and better, more robust downstream capabilities. We remain committed to that. And we remain committed to work with the community to ensure we drive innovation into the market. Nothing has changed. What we did in enterprise Linux, carrier-grade Linux, we're going to be doing the same thing in the cloud together, ensuring that we have robust, open platforms for others to participate with. And we need that participation from all of you. We are convinced at Intel of the virtuous cycle of growth. We are absolutely convinced this is happening today, driven by people, going to be powered and momentum growing with things. We have the opportunity to work together to make certain that open source is a key fuel to the momentum around this growth. So my ask of you is to participate, to get involved, get engaged, make these solutions much more powerful than they are today, much more robust. Participate, and let's grow together. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Dell Vice President and General Manager of Engineered Systems, HPC and Cloud, Jim Ganthier.
Hello, San Francisco. Welcome to Red Hat Summit 2016. First of all, let me start by thanking Jim Whitehurst and the Red Hat team for both the privilege and the pleasure of having a conversation with you today. And the conversation we're going to have is how we, collectively, as a community, are enabling OpenStack for all. At Dell, we've always believed that technology is about enabling human potential. And what we're going to talk about today is what we're doing in terms of products, what we're doing in terms of partnerships, what we're doing in terms of end-to-end solution offerings, and more importantly, how all of us can actually help enable not only that human potential, but take some of the really great work that's happening in OpenStack and make it available for everybody to take advantage of. But before I do that, I was actually reminded a lot of folks don't naturally think of Dell and all of the great technology and all of the wonderful partnerships and other things that we tend to do. So I was asked, hey, could you kind of do a quick level set? This is a mixed audience of developers, partners, customers, and just talk a little bit about what Dell and a whole bunch of others have done. And the way that we have that conversation at Dell is what we refer to as Did You Know? And over the last 12 months, we've actually been really, really busy at Dell. And when I say really, really busy, a lot of folks may not know we're the first and only company to have taken a solution that's automated, ironic, heat, and triple I/O, and put it in a single standardized deployment package. Why is that important? It's important because what happens is a lot of folks were taking those components, attempting to assemble them themselves, some being successful, some not being successful. We wanted to figure out a way where we could do that so everyone is successful. pre-package it, pre-bundle it, make it ready to go, give it some level of architectural consistency so that it's not only faster, but ultimately it's easier. So the component parts are nice, but what we're all really focused on is how do we actually go enable cloud? So we've pivoted. 100% of everything our team does is now going upstream. And why are they doing that? Because they have the fundamental belief that everything that they're doing is helping them, helping us, and all of us collectively make cloud that much better. But it's not just about components, and it's not just about clouds. It's also about how we're doing things with partners. You heard loud and clear, whether it's a combination of participation or partnership, that's how we're going to help evolve. That's how we're going to help create some of the great breakthroughs that we're all after. So one perfect example of that is what we've done not just with Red Hat, but what we've also done with a partner such as Big Switch. How do you take that collective innovation? How do you take all of the capabilities that the teams have and bring that to bear on a business result? And one of the ways that we've been able to do that, and the business result that we've been able to execute, is what we've done with Verizon. By partnering with Red Hat, by partnering with Big Switch, we were able to deliver the industry's largest network function virtualization deployment. And the reason why that's important is we were able to take OpenStack and bridge the traditional silo approach, which is the way that most folks would have done this. When you bridge that traditional silo approach, you not only can power better results, you can do them faster, you can do them more efficiently, and more importantly, you can allow the customer to focus on a business result and outcome as opposed to focusing on the iteration required. So we talked about partnerships, but we also want to talk about performance. And so what you're going to hear, and I believe the press release is already broke, is the work that we've done in partnership with the Spec Cloud org. Standing up a cloud is easy, but how do you make sure that that cloud is performing the way it should? How do you make sure that cloud continues to perform in the way that it should? So one of the things that we've been able to do is not just partnership, but actually show our belief in the systems. We were the first and only still, as of this morning, company to not only run the benchmarks, but actually publish our benchmarks. If you actually go out to the Spec Cloud website, you can see what the Dell platforms are doing, and more importantly, not just what we've done, help gauge how you're doing, help gauge how your community's doing, and more importantly, see how you can improve items overall. But all of this is not new for us. A lot of folks don't realize that we've been doing this for quite a long time. We were the first OEM to join the community. We were the very first to ship an OpenStack solution. And equally as important, we were the very first to actually put Linux inside an enterprise-class platform in our desktop piece. But like most leaders, we're not standing still. As you can probably tell, even with some of the great announcements that have come out, it's not about the individual components. How do you take all of these components, assemble them together, do them in a blueprinted, trusted, validated scenario whereby you can now go help push the results? And a great example of that is what we've done with not only Ceph, but our most recent DSS 7000 platform. By taking a software-defined, highly dense, performance-optimized platform, we're able to now deliver new classes of solutions. So enough of the did you knows. Let's talk about now how we collectively and as a community are going to enable OpenStack for all. Now, this whole enabling OpenStack for all, not a new concept for us. As a matter of fact, I asked the team, let's take a look at if we were to be graded as to how we have fared over the last 12 months, or more importantly, since Dell stood before you on this similar stage, how have we done on delivering that promise? And before I get to how we delivered on the promise, which frankly, we would look at it as promises made, promises kept, if I were to take that entire conversation and distill it down into two bare essences, I would say it's two things. We promised that we would take complexity and reduce it down to something very simple. We also promised that we would keep OpenStack open, not create walled gardens, not create our own distros, not create anything that would actually wall any of our customers in, continue to give them choice, continue to give them options, and let them innovate in a way that they want to go innovate. So how did we fare over the last 12 months? Well, here's a list of what we have collectively accomplished. The first thing we did is we wound up integrating the last 2 releases, whether it's Kilo or Liberty. We now have those into engineered systems. Why is that important? You can imagine if you take the old school way of getting each of the individual components, assembling them yourself, testing, validating, iterating, by the way, do loop, test, iterate, validate, get up and running, or new way, pre-packaged, ready to go, maybe 70 to 80% of it ready to go, allow our customers to focus on getting to time to value, time to innovation, or in the case of HPC, time to breakthrough. The fact that we've been able to work with Red Hat, with Intel, and multiple others, we can now ensure that our customers are focusing on getting to the end answer, and as we like to joke, they can focus on innovation, allow us to focus on infrastructure. But that's just the first piece. The second thing is that we've taken a lot of the great innovation that all of you have come up with and have now integrated into our products. Ceph is a perfect example of that. When I think about the great work that the teams have done in terms of Ceph, and Ceph to me is a scalable software-defined storage, it wasn't just about integrating that into a platform. It was about making a difference. And the way we're able to make that difference is we not only came up with the platform, but we were able to automate the deployment and the management tool set for both the OpenStack and the software-defined piece. You heard Doug talk a little bit about partnerships, and partnerships are key. Participation is key. Last year, we talked about high availability. We said that in order for true OpenStack cloud systems to be accepted, they had to be reliable. So we talked about high availability. We talked about VM migrations. The good news is all of those are now inside the platforms. The better news is we didn't just stop at the platforms. We actually looked at programs. And when I say programs, you heard Doug talk about on-ramp. How do you create a methodology where people now have access to the technology, can test it, validate it, run it, and come up with their own innovations, similar to what you heard earlier? So we like to refer to that at Dell as creating a life cycle offering, not just the product, but even the last mile execution. And not just in terms of the software itself, but even on the platforms. As of last year, we're proud members of Redfish. Redfish is where multiple OEMs, multiple tier ones have gotten together and said, what if we were able to come up with a methodology that allowed everybody's hardware to relatively work with each other, giving people more heterogeneity, giving people more choice, giving them the options to pick and choose the ones that they prefer. That's what we've been able to put in place because that ultimately gives folks a lot more choice. And then one that I'm really proud of the team's work, and it's what we've done with OpenShift. OpenShift is now on our platforms and sitting on OpenStack. Why is that important? Because it's the first OpenStack solution that has containerized application support. Imagine, you can now develop once and deploy anywhere. And so this is basically breaking ground in terms of how do we go create true hybrid platform as a service capabilities in terms of being able to deliver that to customers. Now, that's a great list of technology. Yes, it might be a really nice list of achievements. But at the end of the day, what did it really do? How did it deliver? How did it make a difference? And I'm proud to give you one example, and it's an enterprise example, of how we've done that with Verizon, and more importantly, have done it in partnership with Red Hat, and have done it with partnerships with Big Switch. If you look at the Verizon deployment, it is literally the industry's largest NFV implementation. When I say the largest NFV implementation, not just we had a bunch of really smart people go to one data center. This is actually in 5 different data centers around the world. The team used what's referred to as a core and pod approach, and so they were able to stand it up in multiple data centers, and they were able to do it with no bandwidth or bottlenecks. So not our opinion, but the customer's opinion. They fundamentally believe that this is going to be foundational for them to build the Verizon cloud, and more importantly, from an agility perspective, which is why folks want to go to cloud, they believe that this gives them the capability of now being able to do changes at the pace of software and at the speed of their competition. But it's not just about big enterprises. We also do this for smaller folks. We also do this for academia. And if you look at what we've been able to do with Monash University, think of, for those of you that don't know, Monash University, very well-respected R&D university in Australia. they have an HPC-like deployment. And when I say an HPC-like deployment, high-performance computing, not just for what they do, but for hundreds and hundreds of researchers. They're providing the computational firepower that's allowing people to work on some of the toughest issues on the planet. But they ran into a problem. As you can tell, they do everything from simulation to virtualization. This just happens to be an image of some of their virtualization work. The problem, though, is that they were doing this on different types of platform. The problem is that researchers had to wait in line in order to get access to the infrastructure. So what did we do? We partnered up with several folks, and now Monash University and all of the researchers, the hundreds of them that are working on tough problems, not only have on-demand global access to their project data, pretty much eliminating queues, the IT team can continuously optimize and improve, so they're not having to buy a lot of equipment over and over again. And instead of having siloed, differentiated offerings for each of the different classes of research, they can have one type of infrastructure and provide multiple qualities of services for each. And more importantly, they're able to do that in an ultra cost-effective fashion. And as you can see here, they're able to do it with a 75% more cost efficient than the various other offerings. So again, to help make it real, these are the kind of things where we jointly, we as a community, we as the folks who are enabling OpenStack, this is the kind of difference that we can make when we all decide to participate, when we all decide to partner. But we didn't just talk about how we're going to focus on complexity to simplicity. We also said that we wanted to keep OpenStack basically truly open. And when I say that, to look at how we've actually fared, we've actually done pretty well. This also falls under the promises made, promises kept. And what we've done is that if you look at the fact that everything that we do is now 100% got upstream delivery, yes, we've basically put in place a lot of deployment tools. We put in place Ironic, Heat, and Triple O. But we like to think of this as, and we use the phrase at Dell, innovation for and inspired by. It's not just about our teams taking their collective capabilities and putting something into the open source community. We also utilize this as a methodology to hear what are some of the toughest issues that our customers and our partners and our downstream collaborators are facing. What kind of innovations can we target our intellectual firepower at? Hence the phrase innovation for and inspired by. But it's not just about the capabilities and what we've done in terms of the upstream delivery. How do we ensure that what we put in place is quality? So as you can see, over the last 2 releases, whether it was Tempest or Rally, we were the first to take open tools and use those to ensure or assure that the deployments were put in place. And once they're put in place, how do we also make sure that you're getting the best possible performance? And that's what we've done with the OpenSpec Cloud Benchmark. And if you go to the website, which is @spec.org, you can see that it's not only about the fact that we were the first and only, now we as a community have a methodology that we can see all of these different types of deployments, all of these different types of components, all of these different types of engineered systems and solutions. We have the capability of measuring how is that performance for the individual platform and how is that in regards to the larger community. Why is that important? Because we can use that to continuously improve, we can use that to continuously make better, and equally as important, we can figure out what are the bottlenecks in the systems we build to ensure that we are giving the scientists, the innovators, the small and medium businesses the best possible tools. As a matter of fact, the running joke with our team is they love the benchmark so much, we're the only team who's published twice in terms of that, and you can actually see that when you go to the website. So again, if we were to look at how are we doing on this journey, how are we doing on this continuum, not just from a Dell perspective, but Dell, partnership, and to some extent the larger continuum, I'd say we're actually doing pretty well. But we know in our industry we cannot rest. We know in our industry that if you stop, bad things will happen because we're always on a continual innovation cycle. So where are we going from here? Real simple. If you look at where we're headed, we want to continue to drive simplicity. And the reason why we want to drive simplicity is not for simplicity's sake, is because we want to enable OpenStack so we can have much more wider use. And you can see the scenarios we're going to put in place. How do we optimize single clouds so they run on multiple workloads? How do we have faster development of cloud-native applications? How do we take deployment of those applications so they work across multiple clouds? And then how do we take new infrastructure efficiencies, whether it's efficiencies in storage, whether it's efficiencies in architectures, whether it's efficiencies in data or performance or price? Those are the things we're putting in place. Now you may ask, wow, that's a pretty bold vision. How are you going to do that? Well, the good news is we're going to take a lot of what you already know. We're going to take the things that you know in terms of enterprise virtualization. We're going to take the cloud IT VMware-based or VM-based scenarios. And then equally as important, all of these new models that are coming in, pick your favorites, whether it happens to be around container-based or other components, and we're going to orchestrate them, we're going to align them, and what will come out is a very simple roadmap. Now, as you can imagine on a public stage, I'm not going to get into too much of the roadmap, but I am going to get very much into the directional. Where are we going, both as Dell, our partnerships, and equally as important as a larger community? Real simple. Expect in the second half of this year, you're going to see a lot more announcements coming out in terms of how we're enabling more OpenShift. How are we making it faster? How are we making it more efficient? And more importantly, how are we creating a flexible resource that allows people to not only be able to use containers, but be able to now take that particular deliverable and be able to move it into multiple locations and multiple types of clouds. Expect to see a lot more in terms of cloud forms. We fundamentally believe that multi-cloud is going to be something that our customers are asking us for. So in partnership with Red Hat and various others, you're going to start to see more and more of a, how do we not just deliver on a hybrid cloud, but how do we deliver on a multi-cloud vision? And then as we get into 2017, you're going to see a whole bunch of brand new workloads. I use the Monash example as one. And people may or may not realize this, but by looking at things such as IDC data, 1 out of every 4 future compute sale nodes in the, by 2018 are most likely going to be HPC-like. That's the interesting part. The more interesting part is that even HPC, as we traditionally know it, is fundamentally morphing. You're starting to see more cloud. You're starting to see more big data. So as these new type of workloads, as these new type of cloud-native applications come out, we want to make sure that they're readily available on OpenStack. And last but not least, we want to make sure that we have the capability of delivering coexistence. And when I say coexistence, whether it's traditional infrastructure, whether it's cloud native, or whether it's containerized applications, we want all of those to be able to work in an all-in-one cloud. So with that, what I'm going to ask you to do is we believe that the future ahead is bright. We think it's a great path forward, and so we want you to join us. And the way you're going to join us, or the way I'm going to ask for that in this enabling of our OpenStack for all mentality, is I'm going to ask you for 3 things. First, go down to our booth, take a look at what's going on in booth number 701. We've got products, we've got experts, we've got SMEs, we've got great partners, and in some cases we actually have customers. Listen to how we collectively have been helping them along. Attend one of the breakout sessions. We have 2. First one has to do with how we're going to do a scientific approach to an elastic problem, which is basically measuring cloud performance. And then how do you do a repeatable, reliable OpenStack deployment? It's a lot more than a pipe dream. You saw 2 examples. And then third is engage with us. We have experts not only from each of the areas, but we have a lot of our partners. You can see the list of names here. Come have a conversation with us. Tell us what you're working on. Tell us how we can help, and more importantly, how we can participate, how we can communicate, and how we can actually collaborate to help deliver that. And so with that, I want to basically say thank you very much for allowing us to have the conversation, and I wish you a really great rest of show.
Please welcome SAP General Manager and Global Head of IoT and Innovation Go-to-Market, Nayaki Nayyar.
Under Armour has always been more than an apparel company. We've always been an innovation company. Using technology is a critical differentiator. changing the expectation that the consumer will have for what a sports brand should be for them. This is where we're going to need a big, bad technology partner. Bring in, cue the bell, SAP. Under Armour is a live business. We can anticipate the issues and needs that you're going to have using live data to really understand the needs of the athlete, to make better decisions that meet our consumer where they are. The right place with the right product at the right time. The days of the 18-month supply chain are something that we're quickly putting in our rearview mirror, with plans in place right now to cut that by as much as 20 to 30 to 40%. So what SAP really does for the Under Armour brand, it truly allows me to run our business end to end.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. You know, I will say this. Every time I see that video, it makes me love Under Armour even more. It is not just a cool brand, but the pace of innovation that they have rolled out in the last few years is truly amazing. And before I jump into the details and share with you examples of many such companies and customers who are transforming their business model in this digital age, let me first take a moment and thank Red Hat and the open source ecosystem for giving us this opportunity to share with you all our vision, our strategy, but most importantly, the partnership that we have. Red Hat and SAP had many, many years of partnership, and how we are extending this into the IoT world. I have some cool innovations I want to show you, the use cases that we are working on, and also some of the architecture that we are using between the software from Red Hat and also SAP. But before I jump into the details, let's take a step back and look at what's happening around us. We hear this word digital all day long. And if you think about it, what does it really mean for large enterprise companies going through this transformation? And if you look at Under Armour as a brand was barely even known 10, 15 years back. Today, they are not only competing with all the majors, the likes of Nikes and Reeboks of the world, but they have effectively transitioned their business model of not just selling fitness products, but selling fitness as a service. They're monitoring the fitness levels of their consumers, millions and millions of consumers around the world, and proactively prompting them, nudging them, and encouraging them to exercise more so they can stay fit. This is what we call outcome-based transformation, which is evolving from not just selling fitness products, but selling fitness as a service. And if you take into industrial world, all the large manufacturers, GEs of the world, Siemens, everyone is going through a transformation. In fact, Jeff Emmel from GE also said that today, all the industrial companies will be also a software and analytics companies in the future. GE is effectively looking at transforming their business model of not just selling heavy equipment like generators, but megawatts of power generated by these generators. This is what we call how companies are evolving into the outcome-based economy. You already saw how Uber and Airbnb has already, even without owning the assets, they're actually delivering the outcome. Travel as a service or accommodation as a service. That's the outcome that customers are looking for. So how do you do it? We at SAP have rolled out our blueprint of what we call the digital core, which is powered by our S/4HANA platform, which enables customers across any industry to implement their entire end-to-end business processes, which is also a HANA platform which powers our S/4HANA solution. In addition, we have 4 pillars that support our core S/4HANA enterprise system. How do you engage with your customers? Gone are the days when customers walk into your store to buy your product. Today's customer, they are engaging with you across multiple channels. They are on Twitter, they are on Facebook, they are on LinkedIn, they are on, in your store, they are calling your call center. They're engaging with you what we call omni-channel. And they expect that you're listening to them on what they are saying in any of the channels and engage back with them in their preference, in the channel of their preference, which means when they tweet, they expect you to tweet back, not send them an email. Similarly, how do you optimize your supply chain, your end-to-end supply chain? You heard Kevin Plank talk about how Under Armour, which had 18 months of supply chain, reduced it by 30 to 40%. That is huge. How do you hire and retain talent that will help you compete, scale, and really innovate in this global economy? And finally, what do you do with all that data that you're getting from your devices? We hear 50 billion devices that will be connected by 2020. You know, what I think, it doesn't really matter how many devices. We could have 50 gazillion devices that could be connected by 2020. What really matters is what do you do with that data? How do you convert that data to generate value or to generate an outcome? So what we have done is, because IoT is such a big, deep, wide topic, we defined a framework of what we call things to outcome. Because at the end of the day, every time I talk to a head of a business, a CEO, or a head of engineering or head of operations, they say, Nayaki, it's really not about connecting things. It's about those outcomes, generating net new revenue streams, business models, customer experiences. How do I reduce my maintenance time or my turnaround time? That's what they're looking for. And to get to that outcome, it's a journey that they have to go to of how they connect the things to get the insights. And from insights is what you're able to take actions, is to be able to dispatch that technician before that equipment goes down. And actions is what is helping you to get to those outcomes. And in that same framework of things to outcome, we as SAP have to clearly define where we play and where we partner. IoT is an ecosystem play. I don't think there's any one player can own the entire stack. So we have clearly defined that we are going to be in what we call the outcome layer. We are working on business applications, IoT applications, that help companies derive those outcomes. There are 5 key industries that we are razor-focused on. Manufacturing is a big focus for us. We have been in this industry for many, many years now. So how we converge what we call OT and the IT layer and bring the data from shop floor to make it available at the top floor. Transportation and logistics, I see a huge uptake, being able to track and trace the entire life cycle of products as they move from manufacturing to warehouse to your vessels till it reaches your consumer. How do you track and trace and optimize your entire supply chain? Connected energy, we see a huge momentum in all the energy companies like oil and gas, utilities, mining, and chemical industries. We see how you optimize the entire energy consumption and the supply chain. And finally, healthcare. How do you bring the network of patients and doctors together and provide that personalized healthcare, especially in the developing countries? While we are focused on building all these business applications in each one of these industries, we are also partnering across the entire ecosystem. Again, this is not the complete list. This is just a representative list of the partnerships that we have today. Watch out, and we will be announcing a lot more partnerships in the near future. 3 big categories of partnerships we have: manufacturing, customers like Siemens of the world, Hitachi's. You will see a lot more announcements come out with the work that we are doing with GE and everyone else. Big gateway vendors. You heard Dell and Cisco earlier. We are partnering with all the gateway vendors, Intel, Dell, Cisco, Jasper being acquired by Cisco, to make sure that those edge devices, those gateway devices are intelligent, and they're able to filter the noise out and bring the relevant data into our cloud platform. And also all the telco vendors, like Vodafones of the world, T-Systems of the world, and we will see a lot more partnerships coming out from the telco vendors too. And all of this powered by our HANA platform, which not only enables all of our IoT applications, but also helps all of our customers and partners to build net new applications or extend our applications. And one key question I get is, Nayaki, what does HANA have in the IoT space? What are the various services that we offer in our HANA platform which supports IoT? And as you can see in this picture, on the my far right, your far left, we have what we call IoT Intelligent Edge. Because we fundamentally believe that the devices that are at the edge, we need to make them intelligent so that you filter the noise out. I mean, the amount of data that you gather, for example, a coker unit or a boiler unit in an oil and gas company has, let's say, 30,000, 40,000 tags, and each tag is sending temperatures, volumes, pressure. So the amount of data that you're collecting from this edge is really big, and you don't want to bring all of that data into a cloud platform, but filter the noise out at the edge. And this is where we are partnering with Red Hat on how we are making this edge intelligent. Moving that over into our core platform, customers have a choice of running this either on-prem or in cloud. And in the core platform, we have what we call IoT Foundation, which enables customers to do remote data sync, to keep the stream of data coming in from the edge, to have the continuous stream, but also dynamic tiering. One of the key questions I get is, HANA is a little expensive for us to store all that data. How do you enable dynamic tiering so that HANA is only used for hot storage, and for all the warm and cold storage of data, we use other data lakes, Hadoop, or any other data lakes that is of your choice. And finally, how do you do end-to-end device management? But when the data is here, and we have all these business applications, the real value comes when we converge this with the rest of the enterprise systems. When I say rest of the enterprise systems, your maintenance systems, your service systems, your customer engagement systems, and also your extended supplier network, the whole Ariba supplier network that we have. As we converge and connect with that network, that's what helps you optimize this end-to-end. So let's look at what are we doing in the intelligent edge. This is one of the key innovations that we are working with Red Hat. This was for the connected retail scenario. You know, you talk to any of the big retailers, their number one use case is to be able to monitor foot traffic in their store. They want to know where their customers and consumers are spending most of their time so they can place high-value products in the right aisles. But also detect if there are any shelves that are empty or they don't have the product, and optimize your supply chain. And especially for high-end retailers like Burberry's of the world, their number one requirement is to personalize a service. When a loyal customer walks into your store, you want to be able to detect it and personalize, make sure you give them the right promotions and any kind of coupons that you have for them to get the best offer. And for this scenario, the intelligent edge that I mentioned, we have our SQL Anywhere database that is running on the edge devices, which is the remote data database. Along with that, we use MQ for brokering the message between the IoT devices or beacons, bringing the data in, and also BRMS for being able to filter the noise out at the edge. And when the data enters into our HANA Cloud Platform, which we use the remote data sync, here is where we are also leveraging the JBoss data virtualization tool to federate this data with other data sources and make it available using our OData APIs on the mobile apps. So they are pretty cool mobile apps, both from a consumer perspective, how the experience looks like when the consumer enters the store, and also from a retailer perspective, so they can see what's happening end-to-end in their retail store. This entire scenario, this demo is available in our booth, in our SAP booth. I would strongly encourage you to go take a look at it and play with it. But if you want to get your hands dirty, you can actually download this from from GitHub.com and get your hands dirty and start playing with that. Moving on, you know, one of the key questions we get is, where is the money? Where is money? How are customers saving costs or generating net new revenue streams? Here is a great example of a large operator of trains in Italy. Trenitalia is one of the largest operators of trains in Italy. And they started this journey almost a year back with us. Instead of me telling the great experience they had and the value they got of it, I have a video that will tell the story. Let's run the video.
Trenitalia is the leading Italian rail transport operator, wholly owned by the Gruppo Ferrovie dello Stato Italiane SPA. We carry about 2 million passengers every day, with volumes of up to 250 million train kilometers on an annual basis. We are organized into different business units, which cover long-distance passenger transport, commuter traffic, and freight services on both a national and international basis.
Our goal is to carry out conditional maintenance, rather than, as has previously been the case, according to a fixed schedule based on time or number of kilometers.
The new dynamic maintenance management system is a project developed in partnership with SAP, which exploits the full potential of the SAP HANA platform. One aspect that puts us ahead of the competition in the transportation market is the large amounts of data managed on an annual basis, which will exceed 700 terabytes.
The ETR 1000 is a technologically advanced train which is designed to reach a speed of up to 360 kilometers per hour. In a high-speed system, everything, the entire system, must run at the same speed. So it's vital that maintenance facilities can react rapidly to operational stresses as well.
For the railway sector, the most innovative aspect of the Internet of Things is the large number of sensors that are on board the trains. The sensors record many different parameters, like temperatures, pressures, and so on. The data is processed by SAP HANA, and the system then provides the rules to define the required maintenance actions.
To be able to anticipate events and maintenance operations will enable our company to reduce errors and make processes more efficient, and also deliver better services with continuously improving quality standards.
We expect a reduction of maintenance costs of 8 to 10%, which, for our company, is a very significant value, because every year we spend around 1.3 billion euro on maintenance. It will also improve the reliability of trains, and with that, we have less failures and a better availability. Therefore, we will have more trains available to provide more services. In that way, we can provide a better service to our customers.
SAP helps Trenitalia run simple.
There is one thing I want to bring to your attention. They are collecting 700 terabytes of data from those trains. And they also said they spend 1.3 billion euros on maintenance cost every year, and 8 to 10% reduction in that cost is huge. That's where the real value is. That's where what we call the real outcomes that companies are able to generate. Here is another great example. Kaiser Compressors is one of the largest manufacturers of compressors in Germany. And when they started the journey, their number one requirement was to be able to provide those compressors having the highest efficiency and least amount of any maintenance issues. In that journey, Kaiser effectively transitioned their business model of not just selling compressors, but selling compressed air, which means they had to make sure those compressors have the highest efficiency and absolutely no downtime. So that is the evolution of business models that we see happening across customers as they are implementing IoT. Here is another great example. I'm sure you all know Harley. This is one of my favorite customers. Harley, when they started the journey, their number one requirement was every Harley bike that they manufacture, the one they would do for me is different than the one they would do for each one of you. There are 5,000 different ways of how they can configure that Harley bike. But the lead time, from the time they could take the order and execute that order on the shop floor, it used to be 21 days. They significantly reduced that. They went from 21 days of that lead time to 6 hours. That is absolutely huge in the savings they were able to get. Another great one is Alliander, especially in the connected energy space. Alliander is one of the largest energy network provider in Netherlands. And they provide energy to all B2B and B2C customers in Netherlands. And their number one requirement was to make sure that energy network has the highest efficiency and also is up and running all the time. But in that journey of making sure they have the best asset health of that network, they ensure they also help their consumers, their B2B and B2C customers, to be able to monitor inefficiencies in their energy consumption and optimize it. And for large energy companies, if you think about it, just 1 to 2% savings, that is huge. That's a lot of money for them. You know, at the end of the day, IoT, the way it is revolutionizing the entire healthcare industry is very, very personal. And here is a great story we have, the work that we are doing with Roche on how monitoring the health of individuals and providing the personalized care. So let's run this video. This is my last one, and then we'll wrap it up.
Diabetes is actually a very common disease. It's known as a first world disease, and that means it's also a lifestyle disease.
Today, we have between 6 and 8 million diagnosed diabetes patients in Germany. The vast majority are type 2 diabetes patients, which is mostly triggered by an unhealthy lifestyle.
Anyone can get type 2 diabetes by not taking care of themselves, by letting themselves go, or by failing to get honest feedback about their lifestyle habits.
And this is, of course, a huge cost factor, especially when you consider the very severe complications associated with diabetes. It is thought the majority of heart attacks and strokes are related to diabetes. This means we can't wait to act only when a patient has already been diagnosed with diabetes. We also have to take preventive action. That is why we decided we needed a package for patients and physicians to provide a better prevention program. The program is called AccuCheck View and includes not only a blood sugar meter, but also a fitness tracker, which is a wristband that tracks steps and daily exercise. What makes the package unique is an app developed by SAP, specifically targeted to meet the individual requirements of patients as well as doctors.
You don't have to visit the doctor all the time, but can check glucose levels at home. They are transmitted via an app to the doctor's system, and the doctor's office can contact you and discuss appropriate measures.
It's crucial to have a solution that is able to gather all the mobile data, and here SAP has the right product with SAP Connected Health, which meets these requirements perfectly. The solution is based on the HANA Cloud platform, and with that platform, SAP can store and process all the data from the mobile devices.
This app gives the patient immediate feedback, but also gives me immediate feedback, so we can work together more closely.
Small sins are made visible right away, so I can react much faster and adjust my behavior, which is a great benefit.
The doctor's work will change completely. Now, the doctor no longer depends solely on what a patient tells him, but he can monitor the actual data closely and can therefore make much better therapy decisions. This will not only affect diabetes therapy, but all chronic diseases. Increasingly, we will see that technology, apps, and software will all help to strengthen the relationship between patient and doctor, so that therapy can be provided in a much more individualized fashion.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will say this. I share with you examples of various customers across multiple industries, the value and the benefits that they are deriving from IoT. So IoT is, it's not a hype. It's a reality. It's not if, it's how fast this is going to move and revolutionize and help every industry to transform their business models. And we are totally committed to Red Hat and the rest of the open source ecosystem, and we'll continue to contribute. And thanks a bunch. Have a great rest of the event. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage your MCs, Thomas Cameron and Shermi Shah.
As everybody leaves the room.
Yeah. All right, so I think we're just closing out now, Thomas. So have a good night, everyone. Be sure to check out the Open Source Stories Theater debut, Moscone West, Level 3 at 3:30. And also, if anyone's more interested in some information on Wevolver, they will be doing a Q&A tomorrow, 11 a.m. in front of the theater.
And we'll see you back here in the morning at 8:15, unless you are one of the brave souls who is going to be running in the 5K in the morning, in which case you'll see Shermie. Remember, though, that all of the proceeds of the 5K do go to Girl Develop It, which is a fantastic cause. So I certainly hope to see folks running in the 5K in the morning.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You guys have a fantastic evening. And for those interested, I am doing an SE Linux for Mere Mortals session at 4:45. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you.
Thank you.